Hi everybody! Today I'm going to teach you how to play Dodie's song Rainbow on either the guitar or the baritone ukulele. Doesn't matter which one of the two you have, you're going to be able to play the song exactly like Dodie plays it either way. I'm playing this on a guitar, so if you're playing along with a baritone uke, that's basically a guitar without the two lowest strings, so you can just do what I do. We're not going to use those strings anyway. Before we start playing, we have to do one thing. We have to tune our E string, which open will sound like this, down to a D to make it sound like this. So we will have a regular tuning, and then a D. Alright, let's get started with the intro. We're going to be playing this during the intro and during the verses and in between verses and choruses. It's super recognizable. It sounds like this. Before we get into the details of the chords and the fretting hand, let's have a quick look at what we're doing with our picking hand. We are using the same picking pattern through the entirety of the song, which is thumb, index finger, middle finger, thumb, index finger, middle finger, on the three highest strings. Like this, I'll show you. We're going to keep doing that for the entirety of the song, for all of the different chords. So once you got that down, you're good to go. Alright, let's get started on the chords we're doing in the intro. So basically what we're doing with these chords in the intro is playing several variations of a D major chord. The first chord we're going to play is like this. We're going to put our index finger on the second fret of the G string, our ring finger on the third fret of the B string, and then an open D string. Then, for the second chord, we're going to move our middle finger up to the fourth fret of the B string and put our index finger on the third fret of the B string, like this, and the open D string again. Now the third chord is a little bit tricky because we have to stretch. So you're going to leave your index finger where it is, and we're going to put our pinky finger on the sixth fret of the G string. So, to get this. If this is a little bit hard for you to do, it will get better with practice, and also try to really bend your arm and wrist so you can get there properly. After this chord, we're going to go back to the chord we played before it, which was like this, with the middle finger on the fourth fret of the G string and the index finger on the third fret of the B string. Okay, we repeat this several times for the intro and the verses. I'll play it slowly. So that was the intro. For the verses, we're going to play this whole thing twice and then move on to a different chord, a G major chord. And we're going to play this by putting our middle finger on the third fret of the B string and leaving our other two strings open. So we're going to get this. And this chord comes in at the end of the verse. So a verse will sound like this. I was brought up in a line, but I seem to walk in circles, getting hard to navigate when every map was never made for me. So you see that we go to that G chord in the last line, like it's getting hard to navigate, and we stay on that G chord, and go back to the intro thing. So the second verse is the exact same as the first verse with one exception. At the end, when we're playing the G major chord, halfway through, we're going to put our index finger on the third fret of the G string to create a G minor chord. The interesting thing about this chord is that it's not part of the key of the song. I'd say the song is in D major most of the time. So the G minor is stolen from the D minor key instead of D major. So that makes it a little bit darker, which sounds really cool. So at the end of the second verse is going to sound like this. My title just talks over me. And this is where we go to the G minor chord. I never even asked to be this way. And then we play the intro thing one more time. And then it gets to the chorus. So the chorus has 5 different chords, and I'm going to show you how to play them. We're going to start off by this one, which is an open G string, the first fret of the B string, and an open D string. this is a C sus2 chord. And then the next chord is just going to be the exact same without our index finger, like this, which is a G major chord. And then we're going to go to the next chord, which is a D major chord, which we remember from the intro. It's our index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and then our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then an open D string. So far we got, but to say that I'm a rainbow, to tell me that I'm bright, when I'm so used to feeling. And this is where we go to the next chord, which basically all we have to do is move our index finger down 1 fret to get this. So we get an E7th chord. And the chord after that, we're also just gonna let go of our index finger and get this. In this context, I would call this chord E half diminished, but I'll go into that later because it's some theoretical stuff and I don't know if you're into that. So, for the chorus so far, I'm gonna play it slowly and sing along. But to say that I'm a rainbow, we got our C sus2 chord, and we're gonna get let go. For the G, to tell me that I'm bright, back to the D major, and then we're gonna move our I'm so used to feeling wrong, index finger to the E7th, into this, well it makes me feel alright, and then we go back to the intro. Alright, so now you know how to play the entire song. The verses after the first chorus are the exact same as the 2 verses before, and the chorus is exactly the same, except it's played twice at the end. However, I would like to add one thing. On the recording on Spotify that Dodie released recently, we can also hear a string section. Quick note, I just taught you how to play exactly what Dodie plays on the guitar or uke, and right now I'm about to go into some theory and what the string section is doing. So if you choose to stop watching here, that's completely okay. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, watch some of my own songs and covers. So remember at the end of the chorus when I was talking about the last chord being E half diminished. We got a G, we got a D, and we got another D. Could be D, could be G major, could be E minor. But if we listen to the string section carefully, at the end of the first chorus, we also clearly hear this note, a B flat, and this note, an E. So if you put all those notes together, E, B flat, D, and G, we get an E half diminished chord, which is also not from the key of D major, but stolen from the key of D minor. So it's very similar to the G minor chord we played earlier. You can add some of these notes to this to make it sound more like that too. Especially the B flat is important. So we can place our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the G string as well, and then put our index finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. So now we basically have an E half diminished chord without the G, but that's okay, that's heavily implied. It's a little different, it's completely up to you what you do with it. I would like to note, however, that this only happens at the end of the first chorus. At the end of the 2nd and 3rd chorus, we do not play this B flat. We go straight into an E minor 7th chord. The original thing that we learned to play during this part works pretty well as an E minor 7th chord, although you could add an E to it if you want by putting your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. But we're not playing that B flat anymore, and we're not stealing a chord from the key of D minor, so it's a little bit less dark, which I think might be some interesting symbolism to talk about. Another thing the strings do is when we have our chorus and we have a D major chord, so that would be after the say that I am a rainbow, tell me that I'm right. This D major chord goes to a D7th, so we add a C to it. And essentially how we can do that is instead of this position, we're going to put our ring finger on the 5th fret of the G string and keep our index finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, right before we go into the E7th chord, which we played earlier. There's a lot more you can figure out by listening to the strings and listening to extra colors and extra flavors they add to the chords. So feel free to experiment with that. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're still here after that whole rant about E half diminished chords, well done. You can check out a bunch of my other videos on my own music and tutorials and covers somewhere here. If you have any questions or tutorials or covers that you would like to see me do, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!